everybody, welcome in to our Instagram Live. Going to add a few people while we wait for some of our guests to pop in. Okay, a few of our... All right.
All right, there we go.
What's up, buddy? We are
Going
live, my
good.
man. How's everything going?
All right, we got. Oh, it's just us in here right now. Oh, Buck's in here now?
And we got Buck, too. What's up, Buck? Mr. Yeah, I'm going to throw this up a little bit. There you go. Hawaii 5-0. I'm sorry, Hawaii Pio. Pardon me. One of our LSFSW Shark Elders.
I haven't gone live on here in so long. I have no idea how to pull up the chat anymore.
It's been it's been a decent time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this is going to be fun. We got a really fun night ahead of us, everybody. So we're going to be talking to Bimini Shark Lab tonight. We hopped on a little early just to see if we can grab a few people into our Instagram Live before we start. Once again, I'm Vinny Finney Corpora, and we have Tim Brosidon McGee here, one of our Shark Elders, and waiting for Dan's Cans Matthews, which will be here shortly.
Once he gets in.
See if Dan can join the live here. I invited him to join.
As long as he's on, he should be able to.
Yeah, we should be okay. Okay. I'm going to
Yeah.
message him real quick, too. What's up, everybody?
No, I see the
Welcome
chat.
to our live. Mr. Hawaii Pio, how you doing? Got a little salute there.
It'd be nice if all the elders show up.
That would
I don't
be
know
awesome.
if it work.
All right, invited Dan to join again real quick. We got a
Yeah.
little bit of time still, so no worries. We're going to start at around 8:30, guys, maybe a little bit later, depending. We have the group at Bimini Shark Lab down in Bimini on the ready. So what's going on?
Not too much.
Tim?
I'm just inviting people in.
There you go. Invite the world. They need to see this.
Brian.
Just real quick, just to let everybody know, we'll go over this again, but our big Land Shark for Shark Week charity fundraising event is going to be on July 20th, so it is almost a month away, which is pretty insane. We've been working with this for a very long time. This is going to be our 15th year, right, Tim? This is going to be fun. Yeah, so 15 years. We got some fun stuff coming our way. We have a live show coming from CP Time, Cole Parkinson, the voice of an angel behind Shark Week, our theme song.
That's people.
Try
It's a shame drinking buddies no longer a thing.
I know.
They still have their Instagram
it's all
page
good.
up, though.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we lost one of our sponsors, but that's okay. They were awesome to work with. Hopefully, they're doing well. They did have a little baby, so we're
maybe
them all the best.
That's why family grew and they just didn't have the time.
Yeah, I'm here.
Dan, you in here, brother? I can't
open your
right there for me.
I can only see myself
Dan,
and Tim.
I assure you I am here.
Dan, just
what's up?
Dan.
I've always wanted to be John Cena.
Oh, that's great.
Didn't he just turn heel?
We got a decent amount of people popping in now, so that's awesome. We're going to start this in about a minute or so, guys. Just waiting on a few more to come in. All right. I don't know why I can't see Dan, but that's all right. All good. He's just going to John Cena it all the time.
If no one can see Dan, let us know. I see him. But what?
Is he right next to you? He's right next to you, isn't he?
Ben, I'm actually behind you.
He's behind the truck drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's behind the backdrop, the Shark Tank. All right, guys. Well, we are going to start this. I am going to do a quick little intro here. So welcome to our Instagram Live. My name is Vinny Corpora, your Grand Shark Elder, a Land Sharks for Shark Week, along with Tim Brosidon McGee and Dan's Cans Matthews. What's going on, guys? How you doing? You excited about this?
Counting down the days till Discovery released the Shark Week.
Yeah, going to be a good time. I cannot wait. But before then, we're super excited to get to chat with the group that we support with our fundraiser every single year, the Bimini Shark Lab team. And we're going to introduce them and bring them on in 1 second here, but wanted to give a little bit about them before we started. Right off of their website, the Bimini Biological Field Station operates year-round, and it allows students, visitors, and scientists the opportunity to learn more about sharks and the important role that they play. Their mission is to understand the biology behind sharks and rays and the role that they play in the marine ecosystem through cutting-edge field and laboratory research. We've been supporting the Shark Lab for a very long time now, and we're excited to do it once again this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can raise our fundraising efforts even more. Last year we raised $2,300. Hopefully we raise more than that this year. But our support, our support along many others, really allows us to allows the team, I should say, to continue their long-term research efforts and contribute to the conservation of a lot of different species of sharks and rays. So without further ado, I'm actually going to add them in. They're waiting in the queue here, so let's see if I can pop them on. We're going to bring the Bimini Shark Lab.
We're actually partnered up with Bimini Shark Labs right there.
How's it going? Can you all hear us?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Hey, we can hear you.
Be in touch. So I'm Matt.
What's going on, guys?
And I'm Emily, and this is Egg, most importantly.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Egg.
The dogs are a big part of the Shark Lab team.
I love
so
it.
They have to be in on.
Oh, that's fantastic here. We're going to... Hold on 1 second. I'm having some issues here. There we go. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for popping on. This is going to be so much fun. We're really, really excited to talk to you, of course. We just did a little intro, obviously, Matt. I know you wanted to speak a little bit about the Shark Lab, introduce you guys, obviously, which you already did, but please feel free to rock and roll.
My name's Matt. Like I said, I'm the president of, we're officially called the Bimini Biological Field Station Foundation, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we just go by Shark Lab for short. But it is a foundation, so we're a 501c3 in the U.S., and then the field station also operates as a nonprofit in the Bahamas. So a lot of our mission, we spend a lot of time here in Bimini, really focusing on education, outreach, getting people out into the field, being able to see sharks, realize that they're not always huge monsters, predators that maybe some movies or things would kind of lead people to believe, kind of helping to dispel some of maybe the badness of yesteryears of bad media and things like that. And then we also do a lot of research historically, in the Bahamas, but more recently focusing a lot of our research in the Florida Keys. So some of your past support has helped us with some of our satellite tagging, great hammerheads, things like that. And then a big part of what we do is like throughout the whole process, we're really trying to make sure that students, so either like currently enrolled students, or a lot of times we still call them students, but maybe they're like just out of undergrad or master's. So, they're kind of like students of life, kind of getting their feet wet in the career, come in and spend time with us, trying to learn the research, working on projects, understanding things that can really help them, like when they're applying for positions later on, or potentially going back to pursue a master's or a PhD or something like that. So yeah, so we do a lot of research and education, but it's also a big part of like incorporating the next generation in those processes, helping to lead the field work.
That's awesome. So how long is the research project that you guys
so it really
do?
varies based on the actual project. So right now, our big projects are in the Florida Keys. Some of it's in relation to like the spinning fish stuff that I don't know. I'm sure you guys have seen, some of the new stuff. And so we've been doing that for about like 3 months every year. So we'll go over there for like month-long increments. But one of the big things with science is it's kind of like sometimes they start out with a short-term project that turns into then like a multi-year project. So you might go out. We're doing kind of like shorter-term research projects in the Florida Keys, and then kind of an anomalous situation like this like cropped up, and now it's turned into like multiple years of trying to potentially understand what's going on. Yeah, so we have like short-term goals with long-term continuity of projects going on.
Awesome.
So awesome. Yeah, you guys do some great work for sure. And that kind of like goes into like my next question here. What inspired you guys to become shark scientists? I mean, it's not every day. We're landlocked right now, so we don't really have the capability to really hop on out into the water and do what you guys do. So what inspired you guys to take this path?
My mom's a marine biology teacher. So she's always like nagging me, telling me that worrying about me getting bit by a shark, but I just blame it on her. It was really her fault to get me into the field to start with. But yeah, I don't know why. And Emily probably have maybe a different path.
I guess myself, I grew up on the coast of Australia, so obviously a lot of sharks down there, a lot of the really kind of, I guess, scary sharks that people think of, a lot of white sharks, bull sharks, things like that, which definitely growing up, I was really, really nervous, and I would go out in the water and was really scared of, being bitten. And I watched a documentary that really changed my perception and really showed me how, how vulnerable they are and how close to extinction a lot of species are. And it really, really just kind of, opened my mind. And then from there, I got really, really into, looking at documentaries and finding out as much as I could. And I really wanted to kind of, help out, and it really got me into that.
And so for me, I grew up in Southern California, so I grew up pretty close to the coast. So from a young age, I was just diving and like spearfishing a lot on the coast, and so that's kind of what got me into fish and sharks just in general. And then when I was in undergrad, I actually took a course, tropical ecology course, where we actually came to the shark lab. And so part of my class was coming here, and then when I came here, I absolutely fell in love with it, and knew that this is a place that I wanted to come back to after I graduated college.
That's awesome. Before I let the other guys chat here real quick, Wyatt actually just sent us some more shark bites that we've been putting together. So we're super excited to throw them up onto our Instagram. So thank you guys for that. They were incredible, by the way. And the puppies got in there too, I saw.
Everyone
That's
really
fun.
hard on that.
Instagram and the TikTok.
That's so awesome.
We have both.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Touche.
Dan, have any questions?
Oh, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm kind of dealing with a small golden retriever that doubles as a shark at the moment.
We just had some bad storms up here too, so it's been brutal.
So how long have you guys been operating?
So the Shark Lab itself has been here since 1990, like the winter of '89 into 1990. So it's actually our 35th year. But a lot of our data sets and kind of continuity go back to the early '80s when Dr. Gruber would come over here to the Bahamas on like research vessels for short-term trips. So you asked like how long trips are earlier. Like some of those trips might only be a week or two. Research vessels, just boats in general, are a money sink, and so it's very expensive. And then so in 1990, he set up the actual field station to be able to be positioned, so you have more longevity and ability to work around bad weather or whatever it might be. And then also, in the late 70s and 80s, also is where some of our research from the Florida Keys kind of traces its lineage back to as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that actually is a nice little leeway into a next question. I know that this is not cheap what you guys do. So can you kind of like give us an idea of maybe how expensive some of these opportunities are, because sometimes you go out there and unfortunately you might not be successful in potentially tagging a shark or doing research, getting blood work, that kind of stuff. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Like a good comparison. So especially if we're operating in Bimini, it's a very small island. We don't have a Costco, like we don't have a Home Depot or anything here. So all of our stuff has to be pretty much shipped in, or we do have stores on the island, but they're also like shipping it in at a very expensive rate. So obviously they have to charge a higher amount. So like a lot of times like a good, we try to put it in like good terms that everybody can kind of compare to. So like I think a gallon of fuel right now is like $7.50 or $8 here for a gallon of fuel. Which when you're operating boats, they chug through a lot of fuel. That's a big cost. Like I think a box of cereal, if we were to buy it at the local like store, might be like $8 or something like that. So pretty much anything that you have like in the U.S., just like you could almost double it because it has to be shipped in. You have to pay for all the handling. You have to pay for customs, import, tariffs, things like. So just operating on the island, just anywhere, it's going to be more expensive logistically. In general, for scientists, our big costs are a lot of times are the fuel, but also times a lot of the equipment you're working with. Like our tags and things like that. There's not a ton of like competition in manufacturers, and they're kind of like specialty type of equipment. So that itself, you're operating in a saltwater environment, which is very hard on electronics, the way they're built. So there's a lot of like nuanced costs that you don't really appreciate until you like start in this career path, which is like what a lot of the students and early career people really start to realize is like, there are limitations, unfortunately, of what research can do. And, the reality of pretty much all our lives is sometimes financial limitations. That's why we're, very grateful when we have, you all and people that are willing to support, because that is a major limitation for research.
Yeah, well, yeah, that definitely opens up eyes for sure, because you see it all on TV. You're out in the boat, you're tagging or doing all this stuff, but I mean, this obviously comes with a price tag too. So being able to support you guys in any way is definitely an amazing thing for us, and I can only imagine like everybody else that is donating and supporting to the cause to keep you guys going. And now knowing that you guys have been around for 35 plus years, that's absolutely incredible. So kudos to you guys. Oh, we got a question here. Hold on. All right, so we got a question here in the chat, actually. And, if anybody else wants to add a question, please feel free to type it in our chat. What kind of information do you get when you tag a shark? That's a great question from Mr. Buck, one of our shark elders, actually.
So I think it definitely depends what you're specifically looking for when you're looking out for information, because it depends the samples that are taken or the tags that you put in. When it's like we put a satellite tag on, we could get some almost real-time data of where these sharks are moving, especially once they like break the surface and the tag is able to communicate with satellites above. Or there's the acoustic tag where you surgically implant that into the shark, and then if it goes on an acoustic array, so it has to ping against a receiver, and so then you can get some pretty fine scale movements as long as there's a few different receivers in a specific area. Or some other information that you can get is like if you take blood from a shark, you can get some like lactate measurements and stuff stuff like that, or like fin clips, muscle samples, you can actually see what the shark's eating. So it's super cool to see like an actual like diet of a shark
That's
based
awesome.
on some of these samples that are taken.
Yeah, so like for one of our like what I'd
That
say,
is
and so like
really
for when people say like shark tagging, makes it sound like you're just doing one thing. In reality, like we're probably collecting like sometimes between maybe 12 and 15 data points or like type of information from the shark. So even when you say like shark tagging, there's some of our sharks, an individual shark might get like 4 different types of tags, and those are used for like 4 different things, 4 different purposes. So like one of the tags will be like an external tag that would be akin to like maybe like a marking that you'd see on like a cattle, livestock's ear or something, like something external that people can see. Well, they also get a microchip under the skin, so that's very similar to like what people's pets have, and we use that for like our internal like data set, so that we can look if we caught that shark a year later, how much did it grow, measurements, things like that. So yeah, like shark tagging is kind of like what we refer to as, but there's a whole host of different data points that you're getting, and we kind of look at it as we try not to stress the animal out, so we're always very conscientious of the stress for the animal. But if we're gonna catch that animal, we want to take as
sure.
much information about that animal as possible, and then we share it with a whole bunch of other collaborators too, so that like as many people can kind of benefit scientifically from that one individual capture or tagging event.
Wow, that's an eye opener for sure. Tim, you can talk about the sharks that we that got tagged for Land Sharks for Shark Week, I should say. We've had
So
three
far
so
we've
far for you
had
guys. So
2 great hammerheads, or was it 1 great hammerhead, 2 tiger sharks? Yeah,
correct.
all
Yep.
of them are nicknamed, or all of them we've named in some way, shape, or form to Shark Week, and especially the Land Sharks for Shark Week. Our latest being Ritaville in honor of the late great Jimmy Buffett. Give me 1 moment.
Yeah. So we had it's we had the opportunity to you guys provided us, I should say, the opportunity to have those tags on those sharks, and we used to do Shark Tag Tuesdays, or Tracker Tuesday, I should say, and we were able to locate that shark throughout their journey, I guess you could say, through the ocean. So off of that, the question I guess you can actually talk about, when you do obviously tag those sharks and you take all that information down for that shark. What are you looking for when you are seeing the navigation and the journey of that shark from point A to point B, let's say? Does it have to do with like migration patterns?
So
What
you can
exactly are you guys
use
looking
those
for?
for, and a lot of times our data points get used for multiple things. Depending on the project that it might focus on. So like one individual shark that's tagged might benefit, 3 or 4 different projects in different directions. So say like a satellite tag that could tell you potentially how much time a shark is spending within like a protected area. So like for my PhD, one of the questions was,
Cool.
how much time are tiger sharks spending within, what we call the Bahamas Shark Sanctuary. So that's an area where no shark fishing is supposed to occur, but we know that these sharks move very far, especially for an island like the Bimini, where we're only 25 miles from basically the federal water line of the U.S. So those are managed in different ways. So you can look at how much time they're spending in different management zones. You can also look at migration patterns, but also trying to understand like not only where sharks are moving, but potentially like why are sharks moving. We know now, sharks move very far, but we're trying to understand like, okay, why are they moving very far? A lot of times it might be due to like gestation, reproductive cycles, things like that. So a lot of times our mature females are getting an ultrasound, so we can match it up and say, oh, this shark moved to an area and she was going, to this area during the presumed kind of pupping window when we think the, essentially birth date might be. Now, kind of the next step that a lot of people are looking at is especially in relation to like climate change, or even just like changing oceanography and things like that. So changing currents, things that are going on in the ocean, trying to predict like if sharks have kind of like a thermal preference are they spending their time in a certain like temperature range? And then how could that maybe what we're talking about like 30 or 50 years from now, how could that maybe change, dispersal or movements of sharks? So there's a lot of different ways, and we try to make sure that that's why we're doing a lot of like collaborations where a lot of people kind of are able to access our data and use them for multiple projects. So it's never really like so sometimes we'll do a project and then like write that up as a publication, but rarely is that like just one publication or report and then the end of it. Other times you might have that initial one and then you combine that data with multiple other researchers, get a broader idea of like regional movements, things like that.
Awesome. It's all so fascinating to me. I love this stuff. Thank you so much for answering that
I
question.
actually have a question from chat. And I'm going to try to link that in to how we were just talking with all of the research that you guys have been doing over the 35 years. Have you found that certain sharks are more or less docile? And are they traveling more?
Sorry, was that more or less docile?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. What are you guys' opinions?
Okay, so we have obviously a few different species here in Bimini, and quite a lot we are lucky enough to kind of interact with firsthand. So, getting in the water and taking students out to see them. And so, of course, there's going to be species that we are a little bit more kind of cautious with. Docile is, it's a nice word. We try to steer clear of words like aggressive, which are obviously usually attributed to things like bull sharks that get a really bad rap in the media. And so some of these, it's not that they're more aggressive, they're not out there trying to, go at people and try and bite legs and things like that. It's just that, all sharks are curious is something that we say a lot. And so obviously when we're curious, we have hands to figure out what something is, and sharks, they don't have that. So of course they're going to use their mouths. Unfortunately, if there are, really big species like a bull shark, they have big mouths and big teeth, and that's going to be quite disastrous for us. So if there's something that's in the water, but we're usually trying to read behaviors as well, and so we're obviously very responsible, never ever touching the sharks and things like that, and obviously being very wary with students to making sure that we're being respectful on our part, and just making sure that we are trying to give them the respect that they deserve. We're in their area. But yeah, if there is something more like the bull shark, we would kind of be a bit more cautious. But most of the species here we're pretty comfortable with, and there's no reason to kind of sprint out of the water or anything like that. But yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
You were going to ask something.
All right, before we get too far ahead here, we have one from Bailey that was up top here, so I wanted to get to Bailey's. What are all y'all's favorite sharks?
Yeah.
Bailey from
Well, we know
Shark
Bailey's
Lab.
is a nurse shark, so I think she wanted that to be brought up. Yeah. I don't know. I feel
That's
like
great.
I don't know. It doesn't really change, but I feel like I've grown to respect a lot more different species than I just grew up like knowing. So it's really cool knowing like certain things about a particular species that I find really fascinating. So I think my list is ever growing and ever changing. So I can't really pinpoint a for sure favorite right now.
Mine I think is
That's fair.
very similar to why there's so many really interesting things about each different species. They're so different and so diverse. But my personal opinion does have to be the tiger shark. It usually takes the cake, just because there's something that they do appear on things like Shark Week and things like that very often as this really formidable predator. But kind of eventually. Once you spend enough time with them and you see that a different side of them, it's really cool to see that they're not just this crazy top predator. There is a different side to them, and they can be just curious animals that obviously deserve a lot of respect. But I also think they're just really pretty animals as well.
Mine was the tiger shark. I did most of my dissertation, or all of my dissertation, essentially on tiger sharks here in the Bahamas. But more recently, it was like a night shark, which is a deep water shark. So I was fortunate enough to spend time, like as part of the tiger shark research, in a submersible, and we were at like over 1,000 feet deep, and we had night sharks, which essentially are like a deep water version of kind of like a Caribbean reef shark. They kind of are about the same size, and so there's something really cool about seeing animals like in a really deep area of the ocean that not very many people are fortunate enough to go down to and see sharks down there.
Awesome. How long did your dissertation
Well,
take?
yeah, I can't remember. I know it wasn't a decade, so I got out before a decade, which was good.
That's a
Got
good
up
mile
before that?
marker.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
it was, I think, 8 years, maybe 7 or 8 years, something like that. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I had a couple
That's
years
incredible,
before
man.
the school said they were going to start
That's
like
absolutely
pressuring me to
incredible.
get kicked out, so I knew I was safe in that window. It didn't take as long as some other people in my school.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
you got
that's
it
all
done. It's all that matters, right? I
One of
love
the
it.
questions in our chat that
Oh man.
started before we were all here was from Dr. Norp, and it asked if anyone, I guess it was directed towards us, but I'm directing it throughout, is have you guys partnered up with any universities, especially here in the U.S.?
Good question.
Yeah, is that like for the Shark Lab for us? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Gruber, who founded the Shark Lab, the foundation for us, it was originally under the University of Miami, and so he was a professor at the University of Miami, and then it was around. So for about the first 2 decades, it was actually a branch underneath that operated underneath like his marine lab underneath the University of Miami, and then it went to a full nonprofit around like 2011, I want to say. So a little, around 15 years now. The past
That's
15
awesome.
years has been a full independent nonprofit, but we do still like partner with universities to allow graduate students to come and like use our facilities or to use our data sets and our research to do. We have like multiple students that are currently working on projects, either contributing samples, contributing tag information, things like that. And then we also have about like 10 different schools that come down and stay at the field station in Bimini every year. So a lot of times, like, I'm sure you've seen pictures. We have very nice, clear water here in the Bahamas. We're very fortunate for that. And so even schools that are maybe like near the ocean somewhere, especially throughout the U.S., they'll come down here just because it gives you access to see animals like up close, clear water, and everybody likes coming to the Bahamas. And also there are other schools that like, so we have schools like Bailey is right now doing who asked the question, she's doing her master's at University of Nebraska. That's probably like as far as you can get from the ocean, either direction you went. I don't know. But they actually bring us a group down here now for, I think it's going to be going on, this might be the third year coming up. And they bring a group of students down to just feel like you can learn about sharks and the marine environment. And, you can learn about mangroves, seagrass, all these things are important, coral reefs in a textbook, but like really to be able to like swim, see it with your own eyes, see the animals moving through the environment is like really important for them. So yeah, we do have like several universities and high schools and stuff that we kind of are in partnership with, but we do have that ability to be like a standalone nonprofit, which allows us to work with like multiple ones rather than just a single university.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good like leeway into another question that I had as well. I mean, we're always looking to expand our nonprofit, or looking to get to be a nonprofit at one point, I should say. There's a lot that goes into the whole nonprofit ordeal, for lack of better words. So, how did you guys start getting into the nonprofit? What was the process that you guys had to do? And is there anything that we can do to focus on to get the word out about that stuff? And,
Oh, there we go.
what do you guys need help with currently as well? Kind of like a secondary kind of question from our
So
chat too.
that definitely, so we're very diligent making sure that we're, as a nonprofit, you have to do stuff different. You have to be very forward facing. Like all of our financials have to be, publicly accessible, essentially, as far as like where things are coming from. We have to make sure that we're always maintaining those things because it's very important for the public to have trust in nonprofits if they're contributing to them.
Yeah.
In all honesty, most of it we have to learn as we go. one of the hardest parts for scientists like that run nonprofits is we're not trained in business. We're trained as scientists. We're not trained in, but I've had to learn QuickBooks online, all just from YouTube and Google. And fortunately, AI is helping out with some of that now. But it is definitely a learning curve. Things are done different, but that is a very important part. Managing grants effectively, managing donations, making sure things are going to where people intend is all just that stuff is like just as important as going out and tagging a shark. And so a lot of times people, QuickBooks online, me spending a day doing that with the accountant doesn't make the Instagram photos, but like we spend probably just as much time doing that as we do as having fun days in the field. And the fun days in the field are kind of what are your payoff for all of that behind the scenes work, working on fundraising stuff like that.
A lot of work, guys, and you guys do a
You
great
guys
job.
said
That's for sure.
fundraising, and I know that we donate to you guys after our annual fundraiser. What other kind of fundraising do you guys do throughout the year?
Yeah, so it really varies. We have, we have some like major funders that help, but we also have a lot of people that donate on like a monthly recurring basis, and those things are equally just as important. Similar to a lot of charities where people might donate like $5 or $10 a month, but when you have a lot of people that are really dedicated, that adds up over time, and that helps out a lot. We write grants, that help with things. So either a grant for like a donation or a grant to be able to run some of our courses. Like some of our courses that are coming up, we have courses where we bring in teachers from all around the U.S., Canada, and the Bahamas. Those are fully funded. Like the teachers don't have to pay anything to get here or while they're here. Those are fully funded through grants that we write for. So there's a lot of different, from very small like grassroots style things to bigger style grants, and it all contributes and really helps.
Nice.
We gotta hop on that train, man. We gotta get down there.
Definitely a plan.
Yeah, next step for sure. Oh man. All right, guys. I know we're running a little over, but I do have a few more questions if you guys have a little bit of time.
There's not a big nightlife here on South Bay.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're not missing anything.
Oh, come on. I mean, you have puppies, you got sharks. What else can you ask for? Come on now. Real quick, kind of going into the conservation and awareness piece of this as well. While we're talking about the nonprofit, once again, we're landlocked, and we have a beach that's about maybe 2 hours away from us in Jersey. So, how can people help protect sharks even though they don't live near the ocean?
Well, there's many ways. Part of especially some of those donations aspect, even small those $5 donations, but also we also try, especially with a lot of the conservation and some management stuff like that. And so honestly, now social media is one of the most powerful tools that is around. And so sharing stuff or liking stuff or even just sending to a friend, especially where some places where there's a lot of habitat destruction, regardless of where you're at, that's a prevalent issue, I think, globally. And so I think if we can get obviously more people on that train, then it can definitely help out not just Bimini, not just the U.S., not just the Bahamas in general, but globally. I think there's a lot of powerful ways that just any individual can help out, regardless of, they don't have to have their boots on the ground, but I mean, just sharing or liking stuff is just, I think, equally as important.
Yeah, such a powerful tool, Instagram, like social media. Like you said, getting the word out as much as possible is how we're starting to grow. I know that you guys have grown exponentially over the past few years because of it. So definitely kudos to you guys for that. So does anybody else have any questions in the chat, by the way, until I, once again, I'm super intrigued by this, and I'm super excited that you guys gave us the opportunity to speak with you. But if there's any other questions that want to be popped into the chat, please feel free to. But I do have a question, and it kind of pertains to Jaws. in a sense.
Yep.
June 20th, I know you got the shirt on, which is even better. So the 50th year, the 50th anniversary of Jaws is actually tomorrow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So speaking of that, and speaking of Hollywood, what one myth about sharks that Hollywood gets completely wrong that you guys might have to bust
stole my question,
and myth bust every single year?
I think one of my favorites is that I don't know the number that people say about something like sharks can smell a drop of blood from a mile away or 5 miles away or whatever it is. And while sharks do have an amazing sense of smell, unless they do get that one specific drop straight into their nostril, that's not something that they're going to be chasing down. And it's also not people blood that they're out there looking for. They're smelling fish. If they smell one drop of blood from a mile away, that's not going to attract them directly to you. So if someone has a cut toe in the water, that's definitely not something to worry about, which I think a lot of people are really worried about when they go to the beach. So it's a good thing to kind of know, I think.
So what you're saying is Bruce from Finding Nemo, that's inaccurate, is what you're saying.
They definitely eat fish.
I mean, I took that by the Bible, so. Dan, I took your question. Do you have another question?
Cool. How about this one? What's the weirdest question you've ever been asked about sharks?
Oh boy.
That's a good
I
one.
don't know. I guess that question in itself, I've never been asked that question. So I don't know. I mean, we do a lot of we do a lot of school talks and things like that, especially with grade schools and stuff. And sometimes it's not necessarily questions, but kids just want to tell you something. They'll just want to tell you about I don't know, just something random the name of their dog or something and it has nothing to do with So it's mostly kids which probably isn't a huge shock, but kids will just say the most random stuff.
Oh, trust me, I have a 3-year-old right now and a 6-month-old. So trust me, some of the stuff that comes out of their mouths is hysterical.
It's still hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. That's what question comes. Something else comes completely from left field. So, oh man. So, real quick, going to the future and the technology. I guess you could say, as we're going to start to wrap this up a little bit, about technology and shark research. How is the technology advancing and helping shark research as the years progress? And what do you think the future of shark conservation and shark research is going to look like?
With I guess technology in general, things like AI are just helping with processing power. So the ability to analyze. So sometimes we get huge data sets. Some of our telemetry data sets might have data points that are in the millions and things like that, millions of data points. And so being able to, more quickly handle some of those huge data sets is definitely something that's really, beneficial, especially with some of the technology coming out. But also some of the tags, what they're able to tell you from the tags themselves. Things like, having accelerometers built into them. So we get the technology about 5 years after the general market gets it. So if you think about how many of us are wearing smart watches that are measuring your footsteps and stuff like that, you can have that same type of technology now in essentially measuring tail beat frequencies or activity patterns in the animals, which really helps you understand not just where the animal is, but their behavior and their movement kind of behavior within there, how things are changing behaviors day to night, stuff like that. So yeah, it's any technology you can kind of think of in the consumer realm, or what you're doing on your computer. Computers now can handle such big files and things like that. That's we can integrate that into research as well.
Nice.
Love it.
Now, Shark out or Buck.
All right, we do have a question here. You want to get that, Say?
Shark out or Buck's question first, or are we going through the comments?
Let's go through. Was Claude 2K here? I think has one.
Buck has one, but I feel like
yeah.
that would be a better closing question.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go with the chat real quick. We have Claude 2K there that you want to ask.
Give me 1 second, because we've got a couple. One of them is, Have you ever considered starting a shark nursery program?
As far I guess, I'm guessing that's in regards to kind of like raising sharks and then maybe releasing them to help with populations. So we haven't, but I do know some of the aquariums. I think like Shed Aquarium and Georgia Aquarium, just off the top of my head, they have been working on projects like that where you have like more of a setup where you can monitor them and like you already have the large captive setup that you can help with those things. But yeah, that is something that people are looking into, especially for some of the species that are, already at very low population numbers in the wild.
At least two more question was, what is the best way to calm down a visibly aggressive shark? So I guess you're in its territory, or it's hungry, or it's been hit and is reacting.
Yeah, just probably like a gentle tummy rub would probably do the trick. So, um, no, no, we
It doesn't like a
generally
tummy
don't
rub.
touch
I
a
mean,
shark. So, I mean, honestly, I just get out of the water. Like we spearfish. We spend a lot of time, out in the ocean. But it's like I don't know. I don't know any shark lullabies. People might think that they know how to like. It's like if the shark's annoyed and you can tell it's visibly upset, I get back in the unless you're like maybe if you're say I guess if you're swimming and you don't have that luxury of getting back in the boat or something, if you're swimming along shore, try to get to shore kind of like calmly as you can with kind of keeping an eye out. But sharks are very rarely just going to be like aggressive towards a person unless there's a situation going on that maybe you've accidentally stumbled into. So maybe you're out, swimming along the beach. Say you're swimming along the shore. If you're there by, swimming along the shore, and say you see a lot of sharks moving around quickly, you might have accidentally swam through like a big bait ball or something like that. So kind of like stay calm, but try to figure out like, okay, what has now all of a sudden changed in the environment around you, and then try to get out of that situation, kind of, as quickly, but not like in a panic state. You want to, yeah, do it like that. So, yeah, it'd be very rare for.
stay calm, but
Stay
what do I
calm,
do?
get out of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. And then who is the last
Awesome.
one? Claude 2K was asking, would you employ using eDNA samples to conduct a presence or absence survey on sharks in the area?
Yep. So some people definitely do eDNA. It's good. It can be helpful for a presence thing, but it's very hard to say an absence because one of the things is, maybe what is the water current doing? So say like you took a sample from over here, but there was a shark here, but the current just hadn't taken the eDNA towards you. So it's very hard to say that they're not around, but you can use it on a positive. If you do get a positive eDNA, then you can say, okay, we know the species here. But yeah, the challenge is a negative doesn't always mean they're not there. It just means you didn't happen to find it in that sample that you collected.
Excellent. I think that gets all the questions in the comments section.
Yeah, we got. Why don't we do this? We had a lot in the comments, like you said. We answered a lot of questions here. We have one more from Mr. Buck. Why don't we kind of end off the live with that question? 'Cause that's a good
Perfect.
a good
So the
send off in a
question
sense.
is there anything you would like us to focus on and get the word out about bringing awareness to a certain topic with what you guys need help with currently? But that was very oddly worded. But how can we help you guys? I'm just going to make it cooler.
I mean, yeah. So what you're doing is always very helpful. I know you all are trying very hard to help raise funds and things like that. Yeah, finances are definitely what makes things happen. But I think also equally is just from like a broader marine conservation perspective is people understand. Like what you guys could essentially do at home or like in your local community is the world is very interconnected. Like we're learning that the ecosystems are very interconnected. If you think about like the size of watersheds. Think about the size of the Mississippi River watershed. You might be thousands of miles up that watershed, but eventually that stuff trickles out to the ocean and stuff. And so people just trying to make we're not expecting anybody to save the world on their own, but if people make small changes themselves, then it can definitely help. Yeah, so local pollution stuff, even simple things like local choices in food stuff. Like most of us here like seafood, but we try to make sure we're doing it in a sustainable way. So we're not telling people, hey, don't just try to make small choices that can benefit, and that really adds up when you have everybody doing that. So that way, you don't also feel like, oh, I can only help if I'm at the beach, or I can only help if I'm out there tagging sharks. It's like, no, you can help. Essentially, if you're helping conservation or the environment, it's going to trickle back to the oceans as well.
That's a great ad. Great ad. Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Do you have anybody have any other questions right now before we? I know we've been way over time, and I can stay here forever, by the way. So I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time, but Tim, Dan, do you guys have any other questions before I sign off here?
Dan, do you?
Okay, Tim, take it away.
All right, perfect. So, considering we're here on Instagram Live right now, how can we learn more about Bimini? I'm just going to say Bimini Shark Labs. It's a much shorter thing to say. Bimini Shark Labs websites, Instagram, TikTok. This is your moment to shine on plugging your information.
Yeah.
So we are pretty active on social media, and so especially when we're posting stories, we like to post some day-to-day stuff too, especially when we have courses. For example, some students, they learn specifically about lemon sharks in the morning, and then 2 hours later we're actually in a lemon shark nursery. So it's really cool that we can also try to take everyone on that journey with us. And then on our website too, we also have a lot of really cool information just about the fauna in Bimini as well. So it's not just sharks. We try to have fish, some reptiles, different birds, everything like that. So it's really cool that we have obviously all this ability to portray everything that we do here to virtually everyone with a cell phone. So it's really cool that we can do this. We also are on Facebook, and so all of our socials, everything, and website is at Bimini Shark Lab. And so if people are obviously interested, we like to post a lot of cool stuff. It's not always just research information, although we do like to post a lot of that research information, which is also there's a lot of drop down tabs and stuff like that on our website of our current and past research. So if you're really interested on some research side, definitely go check that out. But also just everything that we see in Bimini, we try to share with the world.
So,
I do have a question for you guys.
far away.
Since it's
Yeah.
since you said it was Jaws anniversary or something, what is your favorite shark movie?
Ooh, my favorite shark. I mean, my favorite shark movie is obviously Jaws. I mean, I know that's kind of like a cop out, but that's other than that. Oh my God! Should I go with Sharknado?
I think you said the same one as me. Deep Blue Sea.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, Deep Blue Sea is incredible.
Mostly just because of the one-liners in there. Shark Elder Buck says Sharknado for him as well.
nice.
I'll tell you what, like you said though, a lot of the Hollywood movies really portray the sharks as the bad guy always. So obviously they're great movies, and they're trying to put butts in the seats, for lack of better words. But
I feel like that's why Deep Blue Sea is different. Is the scientists were the bad guys that are now having to survive their issues because they messed with the sharks.
Yeah,
it was their
they made that
fault.
shark bad.
Touché. Oh man. All right, guys. Well, listen,
Oh, wow.
we're actually coming up on almost an hour, so this is supposed to be a half an hour Instagram live. So once again, like I said, I could stay here forever. I love this stuff. I know these guys on the live love this. Thank you so much for hopping on and really having a great discussion and Q&A with us. We're really looking forward to obviously continuing our efforts and support you as any way that we can in any effort that we can. So if you guys need anything from us, please feel free to reach out. And, you know, if you would like to support our cause as well for Bimini Shark Lab, Bimini Biological Field Station, our GoFundMe link is live on our Instagram and on our Substack. And we also have T-shirts for sale. We have this shirt for that we're wearing today for Bimini Shark Lab, but we actually have some LSFSW gear once again on our Substack as well to fundraise for these awesome gentlemen and ladies down at Bimini Shark Lab. So thank you again. And once again, don't forget, you know, July 20th is our live event. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. If you cannot come July 20th, we will be live. So please join us in any way that you possibly can.
The entire time.
Guys, do you have anything else to add? Yeah, right.
No.
You guys have anything else to add? Or,
Thank you for the support.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Great summer.
You guys
It's been a pleasure.
You guys.
All right, guys. We'll be talking soon, all right?
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Yes.
All right, see ya.
We're waiting for the live.
Yep, I'm going to do this and the
See ya.
live video. See you guys. Take care.